Thanks for clicking on this video. Be sure to subscribe and click the bell icon and turn on all notifications to keep up to date with the latest information and discussions. Before we begin, guys, I am just wanting to say that I am planning to do a Dragon Ball R&R/What If fan art video series, where I go through the hashtag R&Art, as you'll see here, and it will be showcased on this channel in video form, as well as your Twitter handle, stuff like that. You'll get to have your content shown on this channel. So if you got anything, use the hashtag R&Art, and I'll see it, and I'll have a video ready as soon as possible. Right, on to the main review. Hey guys, MasakoX here, and today I'm going to be talking about the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. I will be talking about spoilers, so for full disclosure, I've seen the movie about 4 times. The first time was in Japan, where I got this handy dandy little program for about 900 yen, which maybe $8-9 or something like that. Yeah, nice little memento for that one. But that was without subtitles, and that was just kind of the raw experience, trying to get a rough idea about what the movie is. I checked up on the plot later on. Then the second time was dubbed at the fan screening in London. Then the following week on the 23rd was in cinemas. And then on the 24th, the next day, was the subtitled version in cinemas as well. So I've got to see it in different form factors with different means of understanding and interpretation. I think it's really good. I don't think it's the best movie out there, because it does have some issues for accessibility, but for a Dragon Ball movie, this is an absolute brilliant step in the right direction in understanding international audiences. This appeals to any Dragon Ball fan across the world, and that is a very huge step forward in Toei understanding the international market, because it was very well structured for a Dragon Ball movie, and it had some brilliant setups which really pay off later on in the movie. Most Dragon Ball movies don't tend to do that. They have an establishing little section and then get on to the action. Whereas here, we got a flashback, some bits of foreshadowing, we then got some elaboration, got some good comedy, then we got the fighting. But at the same time, it felt like everything tied together, which made it a coherent movie. Except one big thing. You see, the whole thing about Paragus wanting revenge on Vegeta, yeah, he then passes it on to Vegeta's son, Vegeta the Fourth, that whole little chestnut, but it kind of just goes away in the second half, like nobody really cares about it. And now having actually seen it in various guises, with subs, without, dubbed, it just feels a bit odd that they suddenly forget about it. Like, Paragus was the reason why everybody got to Earth, well, obviously Frieza with the Dragon Balls, but bringing Broly there, and once his job was done, he was basically consigned to being just a bystander, like we see so many times in Dragon Ball Z, by just going, "Oh, it's over! He's too powerful! He's out of control, Broly!" That's pretty much all he was doing throughout the majority of the movie, until Frieza decided to use him as a plot device, which was probably one of the best moments of the movie. Which, to me, really signifies what Dragon Ball is going to be doing with Frieza from now on. Frieza is now no longer just a one-dimensional villain, and it was very apparent when Haverock and I were watching Resurrection F prior to us seeing the movie for the 4th time. That Frieza was really mean, and just really predictable, like, yeah, okay, this is Frieza. You kind of got the feeling that that was the only time, well, at the time, that they were going to bring Frieza back. Whereas now, with Dragon Ball, Frieza is a different character. And I get the feeling that based on what we see in the movie, and I'll be talking about it in a discussion tomorrow, we're going to see a lot more about Frieza's past. And I think that's going to be extremely exciting, and really giving us a compelling reason to keep Frieza around for the long term. I mean, who knows? There could be some brilliant setup into bringing his brother Cooler into the canon. If they could do it with Broly, then why not do it with Cooler? If Frieza's gonna be around, you gotta give him something to do, you gotta give him some kind of a challenge. The movie, to me, it's a bit loose. The animation is absolutely spectacular, and it cannot be faulted. This change in animation and art direction was absolutely necessary to keep Dragon Ball going for many more years to come. but at the same time, you kind of get the feeling that this is the first attempt. Things are a little bit loose because many different animators are showing off their different styles, because Broly changes quite considerably. But I think it'll be okay once we get to the TV series interpretation of it. They'll have found their feet, they'll have understood what they're going to do. But at the same time, this loose style really lends itself to some really compelling shots. Like with Gogeta, there are so many cool shots which are not entirely Dragon Ball looking. Like, another artist is doing their own version of Gogeta. And that's just really special. Gogeta, I prefer over Vegito. And when I found out about the spoilers, I was really gutted, but at the same time slightly excited because I've always loved Gogeta. Back in movie 12, which is my favourite DBZ movie, Gogeta was so cool. He barely spoke, he got things done in a matter of seconds, and that was kind of reflected here as well, despite the upping in kind of exuberance. This version of Gogeta didn't give Broly any chance to try and get the upper hand. The moment when Gogeta felt like he was about to lose his advantage, he would go into his next form, and that was pretty good. A Dragon Ball character actually getting things done for once instead of blustering. Here's another thing I love about the movie. It actually adds lore to what's already here. Sure, it gives you some neat little new bits of lore, which is in the current canon, but also the old stuff. It fills in some of the gaps, and it really brings out King Vegeta more. Back in the day, King Vegeta was just a bigger Vegeta, Vegeta's dad. Not really much to say, he was a bit of a jerk. Whereas this King Vegeta actually feels a bit more king-like. And you actually feel some kind of empathy towards him. With the whole changing of the guard from King Cold to Frieza, and that whole nugget of information, people seem to think that it's only about 3 fathers and sons in this movie. I think it's about 4, King Cold and Frieza. And I will be talking about that in another discussion coming up next week, because it's very, very important to talk about. I am a little bit sad that the kids don't really figure in this movie, nor do some of the other side characters like Tenshinhan, Yamcha, Gohan, Krillin. They're not here at all. But you know what? I think I understand why they didn't include them. If you're not going to do anything compelling with those characters, then don't even bother, because people will go, oh my god, they ruined that character! Why did they include them? It was a losing battle, really. Wait until you have some time to be able to use characters to the fullest, instead of trying to shoehorn them into a 2-hour movie or an hour and 40 movie just for the sake of pleasing a small subsection of fans. Both versions of the movie, Goku is probably the most animated I've ever seen him be. There are so many cute moments when Goku's interacting with other characters. All of the characters feel alive, especially Frieza, with actually using his tail. And actually some of the Saiyans, they use their tails more to express emotion, and that's fantastic because it feels like the tail is part of them rather than just being an accessory. Like, oh yeah, they're humanoids, but they happen to have tails. The dub is absolutely great. Everyone is performing on point. Sean Schemmel is doing fantastically, really bringing life to Goku more than ever. And Sabat, what do I need to say about Sabat? He did great as Piccolo and Vegeta, and I felt like he really got to enjoy letting loose with the whole tirades against Goku. That is so cool. And just everyone in the cast, Monica Rial as Bulma, absolutely great as the side character, and just really having some good classical comedic moments. Chris Ayres, great to see him back, even though Damon Mills is a really good substitute when Chris Ayres can't do it, but when he can, it's so good to see him, and it feels like he really enjoyed performing as Frieza. And as for the Japanese version, everyone's on point. Even though the show's been going on for over 30 years at this point, everybody still feels really youthful and really understanding of their characters. Everyone. And I think my next point is something that I think anyone can get behind: audience reactions. I got a really huge diverse range of them at every single screening I went to. It started off very weird in Japan because nobody spoke, nobody clapped, nobody reacted to what was on screen, everybody stayed until the end of the credits, and then they got up and left. That felt like, did they not like it or anything? The fan screening, that was great, because when Vegeta went Super Saiyan God, I heard so many people whoop, cheer, clap, and someone go, yeah boy! And I'm thinking, this is why I love going to anime movies in the theatre, because everybody gets involved. Although having said that, there were a lot of technical issues with the fourth one, like the subtitle version, like there were some missing audio channels. I don't know whether that was because the version that they got at the Cineworld that we went to was corrupt or anything like that, or someone forgot to install some of the channels or anything like that. I don't know, but that seems to be a thing with some copies in different theaters. So a bit of an inconsistent release, but I've heard that the IMAX version is absolutely perfect. Let's just say it is over $100 million gross worldwide box office takings. And I think with the DVD release, it'll push it towards 150 million. And this movie probably only cost 10 to make. Maybe a few more in terms of marketing, because the marketing push was even more than Resurrection F. Let's just say Toei made a lot of money out of this movie, and it's going to embolden them to try and make the releases even closer than they were for this movie. But to be fair, going from Battle of Gods' wait from the Japanese to the English version of 18 months down to just 1? That's great progress in 5 years. I'll take that for now. But I think now we'll get a wider international release and a bigger scope, because I think there are a lot of countries out there that really wanted to come out in the theatres and will have to settle for a DVD and home release, maybe closer towards the summer. And that's not fair, because there are so many people out there that really want it. And I feel like Toei's really trying to understand the Western and international markets a little more. Let's just say that there's a lot of financial potential. So let's go to the crucial point. Broly. Was he good in this movie? Absolutely. Haverock and I have been saying for the longest time that all you need to do to fix Broly is to change the focus on from Goku to Vegeta. Give Broly some personality so we actually feel sorry for him, and change the whole control mechanism from just weird sci-fi space magic to an electrical collar, something we can all understand, and as well seeing the animation of Broly's fear, it really adds to the character. Broly now is a really complex one, and you get the feeling that you want him to succeed, because quite clearly, this movie is not about Goku, nor is it about Vegeta. It's about the Saiyans and Broly. It's in the name. I remember we were all terrified of this movie's potential, thinking it was just going to be the same Broly. No, this Broly is so much more interesting. I bet there'll be videos on YouTube in a few years' time saying, did you know that the Broly that you know isn't the same as he was originally? This original version, da-da-da-da-da. He'll be relatively forgotten at this point. The new Broly, I think, is here to stay. The fact this is a Super movie instead of a Z movie, and it's still making bank, that is telling Toei that, okay, you can rest the Dragon Ball Z brand for a little bit. Dragon Ball Super is recognized and acknowledged as a very good product. And this is going to be instilling so much more confidence, because Super improved so much during its TV series. If it can continue that trend throughout the next part of the series, Super may even rival Z in terms of fame and reputation. This movie was a fantastic call out to the world saying, Dragon Ball Super is here to stay. We have big plans for this brand. Those are my thoughts about the Broly movie. If I had to give it some kind of a number, I'd probably say 8 out of 10. I feel like I could give it more, but I've seen it so many times now, and I feel like there are some issues with it, but you know what? I'm prepared to forgive it, because it made me really enjoy going to the cinema to see it. The only time I've seen a movie 4 times was the original Power Rangers movie when I was 9 years old. Not even Iron Man or the Avengers could top that. I hope you enjoyed my little summary of this movie, and honestly, it's so exciting to see Dragon Ball fresh again. And this review, and just kind of my thoughts on it, now that I've seen it a few times, it may have been a little bit discombobulated, but you know what? I'm just excited. I'm excited for the prospects of this franchise. Take care, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe, and until next time, catch you later.